have a quote here from Josh Schimmel, who was one of the scientists who went through that program, who says, scientists think that if they just dump out more information, other people will get it. But that's not true. As scientists, we need to do a better job communicating our stories. Think about communication as your job to sell the story and make it available to the reader. Do you agree that scientists often think that they just put out the facts, that everybody will see it the same way, and that they ought to think of themselves as storytellers and do a better job telling the story? Ben?
Yes, I agree. When I started off as a climate scientist, I believed that if you did the best possible science, it would be good enough. Ultimately, people would do the right thing if the science was credible, if it was compelling, if the physical evidence was consistent, coherent, if you could see, as we do, changes, signals in many different components of the climate system, independently monitored components, the ocean, land surface temperature, extent of Arctic sea ice, temperatures in the atmosphere, retreat of glaciers more or less around the world. And if you could show that such changes were not consistent with our best understanding of natural forces alone, as we have done, that would be good enough. But it's not. It's been obvious over the last couple of years, the last year in particular, that even if the science is very compelling and credible, even if we have assessment reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, U.S. National Academy of Sciences, U.S. Climate Change Science Program, and they all say more or less the same thing. Natural causes alone can't explain what we're seeing. It's not enough. I think we do have, as scientists, responsibilities not just to do the science, publish papers in the peer-reviewed literature, and regard our responsibility then as finished. We also have, as Steve well recognized, the responsibility to tell people why they should care about it and what you've learned and what is robust and what is uncertain.
Wisław Maslowski was here recently. He's an Arctic sea ice expert at the Naval Postgraduate School, and he basically said, look, communication's not in my job description. It's not, I don't get compensated for it. That's not how I advance my career. And it was basically saying, what kind of differentiation of what you're saying is that communication is another thing. And part of what I hear you saying is that some people, climate scientists, might be reluctant to communicate because either it's not in their best skill or in their nature, or they might get personal attacks for doing so and go into a political realm where they want to do science and not get into politics. Do you think that some scientists are sort of pulling back these days and trying to either stay out of the public fray because it's so uncomfortable or so politically charged? Noah, do you think that there's a...
Well, I think there are certainly, there are many excellent scientists working in this area that do not communicate with the public. And
by choice, they just don't do it?
Well, whether they do, why they do or do not would be a question for each of them individually. I can say from my own personal experience that I feel that I have a responsibility to answer a question when I'm asked, and I think I have a responsibility as a citizen to, I certainly receive grants from taxpayers through funding agencies, and I'm a professor at university, and I feel that that's part of my responsibility as a citizen and as a faculty member. But I will say that it comes with costs. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think that one has to develop somewhat of a thick skin in order to be in that arena, even if it's only being in that arena episodically. It certainly, especially now with technology the way that it is, in terms of the way that information is shared. I've noticed that, in the last 5 years that I've been interacting with the media relatively regularly, it's certainly intensified in terms of the personal attacks.